Hello and welcome to the Make It Count podcast. Today, we actually are going to have a couple that I just absolutely adore kind of speak with us, share with us what they have going on. So, today's guests are Kevin and Marcie Thompson, founders of Couples Revolution, a movement helping partners build relationship infrastructure alongside wealth. They're real estate investors active in the Sub 2 and Gator communities, credit stacking strategists through Trust Stack HQ, and community builders behind Power Couples, Marriage, Money, and Real Estate here in DFW. And yes, I'm having to read this because they do that much. What sets them apart is how they approach marriage, not with fluffy advice, but with structure. They teach couples to treat their relationship like a high growth enterprise built on alignment, systems, and shared vision. Kevin is a metal artist known for precision driven, flame finished work. Marcie is the author of Obsession, born from a minimalist reset that reshaped how they live and build together. They don't teach date nights, they teach board meetings, asset maps, and legacy. So, Kevin and Marcie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Tanya. Glad
Of
to be
course.
here.
Yeah. I remember when I first met the two of you, and I mean, you just stand out, right? We were in a group of probably close to 500 people or so, and I just kind of kept seeing you, and I thought there's something about them. So, for anyone meeting you for the first time, tell us, who are Kevin and Marcie Thompson today, individually and as a couple?
You want to start us off?
Yeah, I would say between the two of us, I'm the integrator. So I see like the details in the relationship as we talk about our relationship. So I help people subtract the noise. Like we all have so much noise in our lives today, whether it's, people wives that are orchestrating their families, husbands that are orchestrating their relationships or whatever outside of work, in the home, like whatever it is. Like I just help people like extract the noise.
Yes, she's very detail oriented. One of us has to be. So I'm that guy that's a big picture, kind of a visionary. Been an entrepreneur. Well, I'd say 30 years, but really I was hustling since I was a kid. I was painting numbers on curbs when I was 8 years old in Southern California. So I love the whole entrepreneurial path. I love that about the real estate part, metal artist, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just kind of more of a big picture visionary. I'm the idea guy. I throw the ideas up, and she's the one who's the integrator. She's the one that works out all the minor details like that. And between us, like you said, Tanya, we're kind of a yin and yang. We're very cohesive together. We've had bumps along the way. If you're in the entrepreneur space, you're going to have bumps along the way. Yeah. But we've worked it out and we got a formula going.
Yeah.
With being the visionary and the integrator, kind of curious. Vince and I have kind of the same dynamic.
Okay.
But I tend to drive him nuts because visionary, I throw all this stuff out and then he's trying to chase one down. And before you know it, I've thrown 3 or 4 more. And he's like, wait, where are we focusing? Like, I'd be curious how the two of you, also yin yang, how is that kind of a challenge you guys have had, or what sort of thing when you talk about the bumps along the road?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, great question, Tanya. The thing about me is I got that kind of monkey mind, like squirrel. Hey, look at that shiny object syndrome. And from in real estate, you can get that shiny object syndrome pretty bad. And for me, she helps me stay grounded because she'd be like, I'm like, yeah, this is a great idea. We got to do this. This is awesome. And she's like, why don't we finish the other idea we were just on before we move over to that idea? Maybe we'll look at that one. No, and a lot of times, by the time we go back and work on the one I was originally working on, whatever that idea may be, monkey mind's already forgot it, and I've found some other shiny object or whatever. But she does a great job of keeping me grounded in the details, and and she's very detail oriented. That's one of the many things I love about her.
Yeah. The one thing that I would share, Tanya, which is really interesting because we are involved in quite a bit. I think a lot of it, though, it stems back to, a lot of people, they say 70% of couples struggle, they think with communication. I really don't think that it's all communication. I think it's just a matter of clarity and understanding, like, okay, so he shared with me this vision of this project, but where does that map out as it relates to the other projects that we're involved in? Right. And what does that look like? And strategically, all these ideas and visionary details that are coming at us, does it align? Does it
Right.
align with the map, like where we're going? And so
Right.
I think that's the piece that we've had fun, but we've had strategic times that we call it intensive fellowship.
Intensive fellowship,
Yeah.
not arguments. Intensive fellowship.
Just saying.
So yeah.
Yeah.
You have to like structure like what that looks like, and that's what we're grateful to at least be able to share.
Yeah.
Oh,
We just
you
love
shared-
the couples.
Sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You tell me.
Well, you said a couple things in that I would love for us to kind of dig a little deeper into. One, Marcie, you had shared that you kind of help people remove or reduce the noise. And then the second piece was you said the way that you filter it is that it aligns with your map, your roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to couples, because I know you all really do a lot of coaching and developing and mentoring, married couples. What is, when you say noise, what is the sort of things that are noise? And then part two is when you say like your map, how you all kind of come to that. And that's to both of you, by the way. The reduced noise was definitely for Marcie, but otherwise,
Sure.
yeah, like just when it was probably about 2019. Just like to give context to the position. That's the book that I wrote, but we kind of wrote it together because I would continue to like have him proofread it and all the thing. And so I think a lot of it is you have the noise that comes in your life, just the stuff around you, right? Whether it's you're dealing with your car, you got to get your oil changed, you got to deal with the house and all the things that are in the house, or your kids, or your family, or your work, or especially in entrepreneurship, you got a lot of noise.
Yeah.
So you really have to like laser in on what it is that you want to get done. Yes, day over day. But I think what happens, which is a really interesting stat, we were just talking to a financial advisor or somebody in that industry, Derek, and he was saying how people, when they put their wills together, they don't look at it for like another 19 years on average.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you think of a blueprint, like if you're a couple, I don't care if you're dating, engaged, married, all those couples, we love on you equally.
Right.
But I would say plan.
Yeah. What's that old saying we all heard? People don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan. And a will is a very obvious statement there. And as far as the book that she wrote was on minimalism, when people ask us, oh, you guys are minimalists? Well, I think the opinion that people have, the mindset they have as a minimalist, they think you live in a cardboard box, you got one change of clothes, and you eat Chinese food out of a carton. That's not it. What we did was we realized that, instead of owning stuff was owning us. And I remember a guy saying many, many years ago, that we adopted this. I heard this even before we took on a minimalist mindset. It's not that you don't have things, you just have less things and nicer things. I like to use this example. We all like to eat. Okay, I'm a carnivore. I love steak. So instead of just going to Walmart and buying a $10 set of steak knives, we bit the bullet and bought a Cutco $150 set of steak knives that have a lifetime guarantee. And we have top-notch quality steak knives that'll last 20, 30 years. I can go get them sharpened and they'll be razor sharp for the rest of my life. So what we did was, instead of having all these different sets, we got one really nice set. That's just one example of many. And that's the whole thing about when you take on a minimalist lifestyle, you still have nice things, you just have less things.
Yeah, I would fall in that bracket. I'm that person that the things to me are just something to have to dust, something to have to, right? And I think a lot of our society are defined by their things.
Right.
Right. When you think about the car they feel like they have to drive, the clothes they feel like they have to wear.
Yeah.
It's as though they wrap their identity up in that.
Right.
Which we know we can't take it with us when we go.
Right.
He who dies with the most toys still dies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The challenge I get with that, though, is people still want to give me things. Like, I love the people that love me, right? My close family and friends. But it doesn't matter how many times, sometimes I'll tell somebody, like my mom, I love you. I like, stop giving me things. Just want to see you, right? Spend time with you.
Right.
How have you all sort of navigated that piece of living more of a minimalist lifestyle?
Well, I think there's seasons too,
Right.
because like, I don't know how many of our watchers are out there, but you kind of go through this time frame of like we were empty nesters, right? All of our children are over the age of 20, 27 now.
Yeah.
Um, and there are four, so they're all out doing their thing. And I think that allows you that space to have, really focused on yourselves and be like very intentional. But then, of course, our parents got older, things happen. I moved my mom down from Iowa to Texas, and she's in a nursing home. So I think that provided additional stuff that came into my atmosphere, right? So you're dealing with all that. So I think it really is seasonal, but I think the noise, as we call it,
Yeah.
is definitely something that you just have to be aware of and then just ask yourself, right? Is it necessary noise? Is it drama noise? Is it, emotional noise that you need to deal with and you're just not? Is it something that you need to talk through as a couple? Because that's half the battle. It's just making sure that you're being intentional with each other.
And the stuff can really start pulling on a relationship, pulling the time and put friction in the remove the noise, remove the friction. Quick story: my best friend still lives in California, and several years ago, he told me, he says, "Man," he says, "Kevin, I just offloaded everything." He had the motorhome, he had the boat, he had the 4-wheelers, he had the dune buggy, he had 3 cars and all that. He says, one day I walked out on my property. He said, I looked around, I said, I have too many tires on the ground out here. Interesting perspective. So he got rid of the dune buggy, he got rid of the boat, he got rid of owning a motorcycle, he got rid of the RV.
Yeah.
He says, I have too much stuff that has me. And so sometimes if you can release some of it, I'm not telling people to get rid of your toys. I like toys, okay? Between the two of us, I'm the spender. She's a saver. But my point is, own the stuff, but don't let the stuff own you, because a lot of times when you're doing all that, because then it can be causing friction between you and your spouse, because you're spending all your time either doing it, fixing it, maintaining it, whatever, and then that causes friction there too, to where you just it starts to undermine the structure of the relationship.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Let's talk a little bit about the couples revolution, if we can.
Sure.
What problem were you two seeing in couples that made you say, this needs a different approach?
Yeah. I think we saw couples, and we still continue to see couples who love each other. I mean, they communicated to find each other. And then when we were digging into it, we were like, okay, well, there's clearly couples that are just like, what would you say, like bleeding trust and bleeding money quietly, because they didn't collaborate with what their future looks like. And they were just dealing with the next day. And what is it? Marital conflict, like more than 67% of it has to do with money. So if you can put a strategy in line and look to collaborate through that. So it's like we're over here and you're talking about it and collaborating. And then you have your vision over there. That's your strategy. That's your infrastructure.
Right. I like the analogy. It'd be like if we're on the West Coast, we're in LA and we want to go to the Carolinas. I veer 2 degrees to the north and she veers 2 degrees to the south. By the time we get to the East Coast, I'm in Maine and she's in Miami. What a lot of times happens with couples is they just slowly get way off course, and they get way down the road, and they look at each other and look at the situation and go, how did we get here? What happened? Because it's almost the old frog in the pot of water as you crank up the heat kind of thing. And so what we do is we just come back and we just try to give them some structure to their relationship to kind of rebuild that and put it back together.
Yeah.
Now, when you say structure, because you also talked about helping couples who literally had signed divorce papers and then they come back together, aligned. What does structure define that a little bit, as far as maybe what those attributes are?
I think the structure in general, let's take it, let's compare it to like a board meeting.
Okay.
Right. So when you're in a board meeting, when you're talking,
Corporate gal.
when you're talking in a board meeting, okay, number one, is there any, some of them might, don't get me wrong, but primarily, is there any yelling?
Not in functional ones.
No. And there's no
Right.
like,
Good point.
Yeah.
colorful words we'll say. Like, I'm not a big cusser, so you don't hear me cuss. I'm not going to do it here, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you just don't hear those things. And there's not, more than often, they're very future oriented. So very rarely in a board meeting, you'll have it brought up because you've got to learn from your mistakes. But very rarely will they look back, oh, 10 years ago, we lost money because of X.
Yeah.
You hear that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the structure, is to really remind couples that if you have a combined vision in place, then putting the structure in place, it becomes like your alignment, your design for your communication.
Your
And it's your blueprint. And that's really at the heart of what it is that we want to help other people do. And then like in the heart of PACE, how he's always like, join a team.
Yeah.
Join a team.
Mhm.
But you know what? How would it be if you had a heart or a passion to do something? Like, we want to touch on couples. So our challenge out there is, if there are other couples that want to love on couples, well, come get in the community and let's do it together, right?
Oh, yeah.
Join a team, and how many people could we touch, and how many people could benefit from that? So I think it's just finding alignment.
Absolutely. And Tanya, when we go in different circles, social circles, we can talk about real estate, we can talk about business, we can talk about sports, life, vacations, religion, whatever. We find couples that are they're disconnected, and they love each other. They're not looking, like we told you before, we've had couples that had the divorce papers drawn up and ready to call it quits. But a lot of times it's like, we love each other. We're kind of like roommates now.
Yeah.
And so bringing them back together is a passion. This is Marcie and I's purpose. We had up a 17-week marriage ministry at a mega church, Covenant Church here in Carrollton.
So grateful.
We're very good. We love it. And we've been doing that for the last 8 years. And the thing is, that was where we've had people that have literally said, we're done. We are so out, the last resort. And then they give their testimony at the end, and they're in love. Tears are flowing. Lots of tears are flowing. And you bring them back together. And I'm telling you, I say this all the time, if not that I have a rich relative, because I don't, but if we were left $1 billion tomorrow and never had to pay or worry about another bill, anything, go and do anything I wanted, the thing I would do tomorrow, next year, the rest of my life, is pouring into couples, serving others. I tell people, if you want to just build your own self-esteem, your own infrastructure, or your spiritual life, I have found nothing, absolutely nothing, that will build that faster than 2 words: serving others. If you serve somebody without expecting anything in return, whatever that service may be, okay, helping them out. Maybe you go over, there's a guy on TikTok that goes around and he finds these distressed homes with the elderly people, and he goes and he mows their distressed yard, and he mows it all up, serving them. He asks for nothing. He doesn't ask for $1. But he just serves people. Just get out of yourself and serve other people. Will build your infrastructure, will build your self-esteem, will build your relationship. And when you do that with somebody that you love and care about, that's when you really start to find momentum. That's when you get that compound effect that starts going in that.
Yeah, which really speaks to like what we've been sharing week over week, especially like the last 8 weeks when we kicked it off online for these strategic kind of date nights. Is you think of it this way, like you have a therapy loop, right? Which has its place, right? You can look at your past and then think, how's it affecting in my current state? But then like for us, we're like, okay, well, if you input like an operating system for couples, then it becomes like, okay, this is where our value system is, and this is where we operate, and this is how it works best for us. So nobody is the same. Like, we're not going to come into it and say, oh, this is what we did, this is what you should do. Like, that's the part that's been so beautiful, to be able to help couples establish their blueprint and
meet them where they're at.
They want to do, meet them where they at. Because for ours, where we're saying flip from stalled to unstoppable, it's really isn't, the unstoppable isn't louder, it's just aligned direction. Because so many times people say, oh, well, my heart says, well, sometimes there's a need to unfollow your heart. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, that's some of the worst adage, they go, oh, follow your heart. Well, your heart is just deceptively evil and wicked sometimes. I mean, your heart is so fickle. And it's an emotion based that just, it can be all over the board. You can run the full gamut of feelings within follow your heart. It's almost like that old saying, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt me. They couldn't have got that more flip flop. I
Right.
there's people that have suffered from a hurtful comment that was made when they were a kid, and they're 70, 80 years old down the road, and they're still working through that and still have that stronghold in their life. So yeah, just building that infrastructure in there. And then, like I said, one last point on that, serving each other. You get so much benefit. I just really try to emphasize to people, I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your race is. It doesn't matter. Just get outside of yourself. And Tony Robbins even talked about this. If you really want to build your life and strengthen your life and get richness in your life, find somebody to serve, to help them out without expecting anything in return. Because we're all about a reciprocation. If I do this, what's my ROI in business and real estate, all that? What's the ROI? Well, the ROI is you're building your own infrastructure. You're building your own self-esteem. You're building your own core value in you. And I'm telling you, nothing. We've done real estate deals. I've had businesses that were epic fails. I've had 7-figure business. I've had 6-figure businesses. And I'm telling you, nothing brings me more satisfaction than pouring into someone else's life and seeing a breakthrough, seeing a change. That, I call it the juice of life. That is the juice of life right there. Nothing gets us more excited than seeing somebody have a breakthrough and have an aha moment. It's amazing. It's addictive.
You all are leaning into your calling, right? Like you said, this is your purpose. And we're all pre-crafted, right? With a plan, right? He created us before we were even a thought. What do you think becomes, you said money, because I heard money. The other thing I heard you talk about as far as the challenge with couples, based on your boardroom analogy, is when conflict shows up, how they communicate, right? The interesting piece is that both of those scenarios, money and conflict communication, do draw back to their environments when they grew up as kids, right?
Yeah.
We form our relationships with money before we're 7. And it's typically based on what we heard or didn't hear or saw as kids. And the same thing when it comes to conflict, right? If somebody grows up in a screaming household, they tend to be screamers.
Yep.
Now, I have to believe that you all get faced with a lot of these sort of limiting behaviors and beliefs.
Yeah.
So how do you all kind of take the opportunity to tackle that with the couples you're helping?
Well, I think there's one reminder. I think I just did an Instagram post about this, where I was talking about, like, so many times people are like, oh, I'm going to give this coaching advice, which I think is great advice for couples that aren't in that space. Like, they're not arguing. But if you're a high meter type situation where you're arguing and people are like, yeah, just go on a date night, take more time. Well, then I'm thinking, okay, well, if you can't go on a date night, then what's that going to look like? Especially if you can't look in each other's eyes, if you can't talk through a situation. And at some point, I think there's like we already talked about it, but I think a lot of it too is just people coming together corporately. So for us, we're always like, okay, let's pray about it. And I know some people out there be like, oh my gosh, not that again. But I'm telling you, there's something powerful about it.
Yeah.
When it's done intentionally.
And speaking of that prayer, whether you're a Christian, believer or not, whatever you believe in all my years, when somebody's really hurting,
yes,
and they're pouring out their heart to you, and this couple is distraught, and you stop and say, hey, can I pray for you? I have yet not one time had someone go, no, don't need no prayer. Nope. So something like that is very powerful. But yeah, and just rolling it back and it's trying to almost like you said, Tanya, all these things are formed way, way back when we're children, and trying to roll back and deconstruct what got us there. And sometimes Rome wasn't built in a day, and you're not gonna rebuild it in a day either. Yeah. So a lot of times it takes time and pouring into them, and just over a course of time, you can just start to kind of deconstruct it and see where that sticking point was.
Well, I think too, it's a good lead into like our Sunday asset protocol that we do. Like, it's literally 15 minutes. And all it is we're just trying to level set people as or couples as it relates to 4 different categories, whether
Right.
it's emotional, whether it's their wealth, whether it's their health, and then what is it all aligning? What does it look like this next week for
Yeah.
the vision? What are they doing about it? Like, where are they going? So I think if you keep it all consistent and then you're just touching base, like literally we were running through an example of it going, hey, babe, what did we have issues with? What was our challenge last week? And right now, our challenge is
Selling a flip.
we got to fix and flip.
We got to fix and flip, and the market's soft.
Yeah.
Right. So, we just kind of just talk through it. And it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be this like big official thing. And I think sometimes if you get down in the dirty details of it all, then you start looking in the rear view mirror
Mhm.
to all those things that you learned before. But just because you didn't learn it a certain way doesn't mean you can't relearn it, because our brain is such an incredible engine.
Yeah. The neuroplasticity,
It's
right?
Oh,
That allows us to do that. You kind of glossed over the title of it a little bit. So what do you call your Sunday meetings again?
yeah, 15 minutes. We technically call it SAP because we're kind of an AI fintech kind of group, but
Mhm.
it's called the Sunday Asset Protocol.
So
So,
the SAP
yeah.
in 15 minutes. How do you guys make sure that occurs?
How do we make sure? I think
Because
sometimes,
people will get busy and they'll be like, "Oh, we didn't do our SAP on Sunday."
well, if you don't have your calendar rolling, that's definitely a great tool. I would suggest that. And then we always tell people it can be messy.
Mhm.
the thing is, it doesn't have to be perfect. And what we tell people is 15 minutes. And when you first say it, sometimes you can, you read the body language and it's just kind of like you hear big sigh and like, well, start with 5 minutes. Start with the simple things. Okay, what was your big win? What was your big challenge, and what was your big win? Well, what that does, we start that out at the very get go, because what that does is it gets the conversation started. And
Mhm.
what you want to do is start it with your challenge and end with your win. Because what a lot of times with your challenges, we all have challenges, but a lot of times your challenge, what you're challenged with and struggling with, your spouse may know very little about it. But all of a sudden, when you start sharing it with them, then all of a sudden they can give you a perspective. We like the saying, we love personal development, been in it forever. And Wayne Dyer, he's passed on now, but he used to say,
Yeah,
we say this all the time:
all the time.
change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. It's
Yeah.
all about perspective. So when you look at it that way, then they can give you a different perspective. And then when you start talking about your win, then you go from the challenge, working on the challenge, to where you like, hey, and then you share win. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and it's just building. It's like a building block.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, because by the way, I can remember when I became an adult, when it came to conflict, I didn't have a healthy approach. And when it was pointed out to me, which then I was aware, I was like, oh, the statement that was made to me, and this was, we're going to say, oh gosh, 30 plus years ago,
Mhm.
because I turned 50 last year, but I was a yeller, right? So conflict would show up. I would yell, my voice would come up, and I was a sales manager at the time, had the sales team was twice my age up. So I was yelling at somebody.
Yeah.
Kindly, the general manager didn't pull me aside immediately. He waited a bit, but then when he took me aside to have the conversation, he said, I'm curious. He goes, a mentor of mine, so he put it into his own story. He goes, I used to yell a lot. And I'm curious why were you yelling? Like, what led you to yell? And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. He goes, well, this was what my mentor said to me that stuck. He said, yelling is a sign of ignorance. It's what people do when they don't know what to say.
That's
So
good.
And I was just
So
like,
true.
I think I might have yelled in the last 30 plus years 3 times in my life. And it was because somebody was in danger, right? Like walking into a street, that sort of a thing.
yeah.
Oh yeah, my kids, they're 31 and 30. If you ask them when was the last time they heard their mother yell? No, right? And I think it ties biblically for me. I don't know about for you all, but I think this plays importantly with couples, right? How to be a good couple is in the Bible. And
It is.
the one that I sort of live by is the do not let the sun set on an argument,
Yep.
right? Or a conflict. And it doesn't matter whether it's my spouse, the kids, a friend, or family member. On the occasions that I've not been able to get it resolved because the other party wasn't willing, which was mostly friendships, not my family.
Yeah.
But it really took a toll, right? Because there's a reason why that's there and it's existed for thousands of years, right? Is don't let the sun set on an argument or a conflict. What
Mhm.
is it that what are sort of your guiding principles? You treat your relationship like an enterprise business,
Mhm.
right? What
Yep.
else would you all say are kind of your guiding principles?
Well, and I think the enterprise business, not necessarily that we, come into our lives and we treat it like a boardroom, but I think we just have the core value for us
Mhm.
is a covenant. And
Mm.
so many people over time had shared with us, well, that marriage is just a piece of paper. And I think at the core of that, really covenantal relationship structure has order,
Yeah.
has law, it has communication, it has all the different features, right? As you're saying, Tanya, as it relates to the Bible. And I think biblically, how we've structured it is saying, hey, you can have this covenantal relationship structure and you can
Mhm.
have a relationship structure and you can marry it with this operating structure that really gives like what makes a good marriage tick. And so
Yeah.
that's what we've done. So it's not necessarily a boardroom meeting or a meeting, but it's
Right.
really a preventative maintenance. We got like we had this one reviewer like it's like flossing for a marriage.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
The thing is, like, I love what you said, Tanya, about don't let the sun go down on your argument. And
Mhm.
we've practiced that. We've been together 16 years, and I can say that we've never went to bed mad at each other. We stayed up until about 2 o'clock in the morning one time,
Right.
hammering it out, and we promote that all the time because what happens is, and then like you, Tanya, I wasn't raised in a Christian home. My dad was abandoned as a child. He was severely physically abused, abandoned,
Yeah.
and he grew up a very angry man. And then he
Mm.
taught me, I never went to church with my parents. In fact, I led both my parents to the Lord, but he only knew anger. And he was huge. He was a huge man, and he would just impose his will and scream at you in submission. So I grew up with that anger, and I had to deal with that when I became a believer. I had to deal with that anger. And Marcy and I both been married before, and my previous marriage, that's what we both did. We just yelled at each other, and nothing got accomplished. Because
Yeah.
then after the yelling's done, then you let the sun go down on your wrath, and then the passive aggressiveness sets in, and then the resentment, and then the walls, the emotional walls start getting built up.
Yeah.
So now we come together, and it's all, if you're going to disagree, what we call an intensive fellowship, even in war times, they have the thing called the Geneva Convention. It means if we're
Yeah.
going to go to war, we gotta have rules to how we're going to go into war. It's no holds barred. No holds barred doesn't work in a wartime. It doesn't work in a relationship, and you have to have those guidelines and it all comes down to respect. I heard a preacher many years ago say, a man needs two things in life. He needs love and he needs respect. But if he has to live without one, he'll live without the love because he'll live without the love, but he needs respect because if he doesn't have the respect, he doesn't have the love. And as long as we know that we respect each other, respect is huge. And what happens in many relationships, in many conversations, many arguments is the lack of respect for the other person, for the situation, for everything going on. And that is a big thing that when that breaks down, then that's when the wheels come off quickly.
Yeah. When earlier, of course, Marcy, you were saying that you don't curse, and based on what you were just saying too, Kevin, I authored a book years ago for entry level, mid level leadership because they don't like to read. But one of the chapters is actually titled "My Favorite F Word," and it's actually filter.
Oh, I love that.
Good.
That's good, Tanya. That's
Right?
good. Yes.
Because we are so quick to throw out, and typically it's an emotional reaction, right? But when you can use what I call the power of the pause and filter, it gives you just a moment because, like you said, sticks and stones break my bones, words will never hurt me. That's not true, of course, because and once they're out, you can't take them back.
Right. Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
And
That is so
anything that
good.
comes out emotionally charged in a negative manner is not going to be helpful.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's not.
You know, that's what separates us from the animal kingdom, the human mankind from the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom, there's reaction and there's response.
Mhm.
Animals only know how to react. Their brain that doesn't even have the capacity to respond. So what happens in a relationship when you react? I love what you said about the filter and the pause, because I tell people, we say this to couples all the time. If you're in the middle of an argument and what happens is as the temperature rises, the elevation climbs, the speed, the tempo of the conversation picks up and up and up. After you hit a certain point, all you're thinking about is what you're going to say next, and you're not even really hearing that other person. So you said that perfectly, Tanya. When you can have that pause in there, and even take that one step farther, we'll tell them, hey, if nothing else, take that pause out of the room for a minute. Say, hey, listen, I just need a minute to process. Because what that does when you take yourself out of that situation, now all of a sudden, you're not thinking about what you're going to say. Now you're starting to think about what they said, and then it gives you a chance to process it and come back. And if you have the mindset that you want to resolve, okay, we're a team. It's not you against me. It's us against the problem. Okay, and when you come at it like that, you're absolutely right. I bet that book was amazing because there's so much power in that pause.
A lot of power in the pause.
Huge fan of the pause.
Yeah, I'd be curious what you all have eliminated, if you will, from a standpoint of, because when you all were talking about noise, right, and minimalist, for me, I very rarely jump on social media, and I don't watch the news, and I get that some people criticize that, but to me, we're ingesting something, right? And the media likes conflict, right? Fear mongering. And I think that that's come into play in how people communicate. So when you think about the things that are out there that maybe you've deleted that you think has been a benefit to you all as a couple, other couples might benefit from, what are some of those things?
Go ahead.
I would say the first thing that we looked at, we've taken out the news for the most part.
It's funny you mentioned that. We watch a little bit of it now.
A little.
But we took out the news for about 3 years, and people are, how do you keep updated? I mean, what's going on in the world? I'm like, well, we're still here. Everything's fine. I mean,
you can read about it.
If we're going to have a nuclear war, we'll find out. But with the news, though, Tanya, like you say, if it bleeds, it leads. And when you turn on the news, the first 10 minutes of the news is death, murder, kidnapping, mass shootings. I mean, it can really start to affect your psyche.
I think the other one that comes to me too, Tanya, is, and I don't know if you've ever seen posts about this, because social media, of course, has all of its game and algorithms. So I think that, and I'm sure many people, whether you're in politics or not, take that out. Right. But I would say, as you get into your feed, right, I would say you could make just minuscule impact that way, to take out those things that don't feed you. Right. So what's in your feed? Like, if you're a social media person, I get that, it's fun. It has its place. Like, we're on social media. We enjoy it.
But we're also using it for a marketing tool too. So right now, it's one of the necessary tools to get the message out that what we're trying to convey. But go ahead.
But no, I would just invite people to look at omitting things just a little tiny bit at a time. Because what happens is, if you try to do too much at once, which, we were guilty. Like, we did a lot of stuff. We went through our whole house, got rid of a bunch of stuff. We moved from 3,000, almost 4,000 square foot home to a 1,600 square foot home. We did all the thing, right?
Yeah. We got a little house now.
To become, and we really.
And we're happy.
Right. Through the whole process, though, we learned a lot, like, mentally, more than anything impacted us. Like, physically. I think the process of purging really provided the growth that we are in today.
Yeah, the purge is good. And the whole doom scrolling thing, Tanya, what can happen, I found myself falling in that in the past, where you start looking at other people and everybody looks great online. Everybody's successful. Everybody's happy until you meet some of those people in real life, or you hear about it down the road. But like you said, if you're going to, like you're talking about neuroplasticity, I'm into neuroscience and all that, how the brain thinks. I'm not that smart at it, but I'm kind of a nerd in that way. I love that kind of stuff. So I follow a lot of guys, a lot of women, people that are really into that. So I love anything that has to do with the mind, how the mind thinks, and all that, because it's such an amazing mechanism that God created. And health and fitness. I've been in fitness my whole life. I was a power lifter from 9th grade all the way up for 20 some years. So health and fitness is super important to me, and that kind of thing. If you're going to do your social media, like Marcie says, pare it down. You can eliminate those people, and you can pare out that, and just, if you're going to do stuff that's going to feed you in a healthy way, and because you can get so caught up in the art of comparison, and nothing good comes from that, because nothing good from that.
I think so. That's why it comes back to like a couple having their blueprint and having their vision, because then you really get like fine-tuned. Like, what are we gonna, like our Sunday as a protocol, like the last step is like, what's one thing that can move us forward on our vision going into next week? What's the one, or what's the one problem that you're trying to solve? And at least together you're looking at the problem instead of looking at like all the to-do lists and everything else that goes with it. You're just focused on one thing. What's the one challenge?
Yeah, and just don't get in the habit of comparing yourself to other people. There's always going to be somebody better looking, richer, stronger, faster, more successful. But you know that we're not put here to compare ourselves to each other. I mean, we have a gold standard, and just do the best you can and work on you from the inside, and not look to compare yourself to an influencer or whatever. And that's what we do. We put guardrails on our relationship. We used to be really big into the social media scene, and we don't drink anymore. We haven't drank in years, but way back we did. And we'd go to these big happy hours where we ran in a network of people, even before real estate. When they had a happy hour, there'd be 150 of us that would show up. So it was a big event. And then, but what happens is you get caught up in all that drama and all that stuff. And we found out after a while, this doesn't serve us. I mean, and it just didn't serve us. So what you do is just pare those things out of your life, and just look for the things, just like the Sunday Asset Protocol. Look at the things in your life that are serving you, and enhance those, embellish those, and feed into those. So things that aren't serving you, take them out, and come up with a strategy and a structure of how you're going to remove those, and come up with a plan.
As a couple.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the decisions that you all make, you make as a couple. I mean, just based on what you've been sharing, you stopped watching the news collectively.
Yep.
You chose to stop drinking alcohol collectively.
Yep.
What about when one wants to remove something in the relationship and the other one doesn't?
You know, it's really interesting that you say that, Tanya, because I think for us, like, I'm trying to think of one time that we haven't done something. Like, it's really funny.
Kind of struggling on that one.
We'll even get on calls now, and people will be like, "Oh, it's Kevin and Marcie," because we are synergistic that way, and we enjoy spending time together.
We're together almost 24/7. We both work from the home.
Yeah.
And we do everything together. And I mean, when we were doing art shows and going around, around Texas doing art and stuff like that. Even though Marcie had her corporate W-2, she wanted to be part of that world with me. So she would be there with me, and we would do the whole show together and stuff like that. So we're very intentional about that. And we don't really, I guess maybe because we found that harmony, that we pretty much like each other's stuff. The one thing that she doesn't like, I love UFC. She doesn't love UFC. She just,
I'll watch it.
I'm still working on it. But one of these days I'm going to get it there. But I mean, so stuff like that. So yeah. But for the most part, we're pretty cohesive in that. We're pretty like-minded.
Well, I think it's just like providing understanding for what it is that somebody does want to do. Like sometimes people I want to be a, parachute glider. I want to be a skydiver or whatever it is, right? That people want to do. And that would definitely not be me, but that is definitely him.
Oh man, I'm a thrill seeker. I'm a daredevil, and I'm an adrenaline junkie.
Right. But then
she doesn't want, I don't know why she doesn't want to jump out of a plane with a perfectly good plane. Doesn't go down in flames. She sees no enjoyment in that.
But I think with that being said, though, there are certain things in a couple's relationship you have to provide that space,
right?
That understanding or the empathy or grace or whatever it is that you need to provide to the other person to still experience that.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that's the gap is some people will be like, oh my gosh, he goes fishing every Sunday. Okay, well, what does that provide him? Like what kind of peace does that give him by going out to do that? And is that the hill that you really need to stand on? Is it really impacting your marriage because he goes out hunting every weekend? Like, I don't know. Like those are the things that you have to talk about though as a couple.
And I'll give you an example because a lot of times, speaking of that, because sports and guys are just sports oriented, we're gadget oriented, we're thing oriented. And excuse me, years ago, I had a friend, he was selling a beautiful motorcycle. It was a beautiful custom chopper. It was this pearl essence orange and it was
I see Marcie's face, her eyes rolling as Kevin described.
Yes, it was beautiful. And this guy was in a tight spot, and it was a smoking deal. It was a great deal. I came home and I'm so excited. I said, babe, you're not going to believe it. Jeff's got this bike, and man, oh man, it's tricked out. He's got more than the bike was $9,000. I said, he's got over $15,000 for just the chrome in this thing.
Yeah.
What do you think? So you're talking about how do you navigate that? She looks at me and she goes, she literally does this. She comes up and she gets real close. She goes, babe, I'm begging you, please don't get a motorcycle. Please. I don't want to lose you. Please don't get a motorcycle. Because she knew the backstory about me, but I used to ride way back in the day. And that old saying, I used to ride them like I stole them. Okay. There's only two speeds on a motorcycle. It was in my world. Neutral and wide open. So she knew that about me. But here's what I'm saying. She didn't go, man, I don't want you having a motorcycle. You know how dangerous those things are. People get killed every day on that thing. She could have done that, but she didn't. She came to me and she appealed to my emotions and what I meant to her. And when she put it that way, I let it go. I didn't sit there and mope and, all bummed out and feeling sorry for myself. But it made me understand, okay, what this means to her. And it was so impactful. Yeah. It's all about your approach, how you approach things. Tony Robbins says, if you're not getting the results you want, what do? You change your approach. If that doesn't work, what do? You change your approach. And he said, if that doesn't work, you change your approach. And he said, when people ask me, how many times do I change my approach till you get the result you're looking for?
Yeah.
And that was a situation, maybe I was a little long-winded on that, but it was a really important point in a relationship because that was kind of one of those moments, an aha moment, like, oh, okay, I got you now. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we
I think, well, I was going to say, I think you all touched on it a little bit, but I think it'll be good for those watching. If you work so hard to become this cohesive couple, what are the things that you do or you suggest so you also don't necessarily lose your own individual identities as well?
Well, my question would be, like we always tell people, like, stay in the circle, fix what's in the circle.
Yeah. Draw a circle around yourself, fix what's in the circle.
So on the transverse of that, like, what are those things? Like, for example, Tanya, what are your favorite things to go do?
Me?
Yeah.
Literally. That would require me to actually have to sit there and think about it.
You like to travel,
which is usually business. Yeah. And we like to travel together. Well, I guess the thing for Vince and I is I have to get away with my girlfriends on occasion.
Ooh, that's a good one.
See, you hit right where I was going to go, Tanya. Here's the thing. I've been a huge advocate my whole life.
Yeah.
Women need other women. And if she belonged to a book club, Women belong to a bunco. They go away. We have friends that they would do a scrapbook weekend. They would they'd go out to the Gaylord, spend 3 days out there and not get out of their pajamas and order in food for 3 days. And they would just do scrapbooking. Anytime she wants to hang out with women, I'm like, go, babe, go. Not because I want to get rid of her, because I love her. We love being around each other. But I also know, because women need other women, because if you get that connection with another woman, then that makes her a healthier, better woman for me. And if she comes back, two things happen in that in that trade-off. First of all, she got that connection. She got that oxytocin hit. She got all the things that blend the two together. Then she comes back and she's recharged, rejuvenated, had a great time, and appreciates the fact that I appreciate her hanging out with women. So it just comes back to me, and it helps her and us, where she feels good, I feel good. For me, okay, like different things. I don't have a lot of sports. I don't golf and all that, because it just takes too much time, and I'm just not a golfer. I got almost everybody I know golfs, but I don't golf, and that's okay. But I'll go shooting with her son. All right, we go up to the range up here, and we'll shoot for a while. And she's not really into guns. I took her a couple of times so she knows how to use one, but I was. My dad was ex-military. I started shooting when I was 4 years old, so I've been around weapons my whole life, you know. And so me and him, we'll have that little bonding time. And she's like, "Sure, go," you know. Yeah. She's okay with that.
I'm a truly. I mean, even people that know me, like, I'm more of an introvert in nature. Like, I love a good book. Bring me some coffee, a great book. That's just my personality. Now, mind you, I can come up to be the extrovert, to visit with couples, to do the thing. But my bubble is like digging into books and just being alone. Yeah. This is because we are so busy. So I think for me, it's the me time. It's unwinding, it's unpeeling the things that are going on, and making sure that I'm level set so I can support and love on those people that are around me.
I love that. And because I can't come down to the introvert level. I stay in the extrovert level the whole time, but that's what makes it our balance really nice, because we balance each other out like that. I'm kind of high energy. I know you can't tell, but sorry, but yeah, better.
That was the dog. Look at that. They got to show up every time. He's been quiet this entire time. I shut him in the office with me.
That's okay. Aww. People love dogs. Dogs are good.
Yeah. Watch this. I'm gonna get up and let him out too. So when you were talking about introverted and extroverted, you know, people say they identify themselves, right, with I am statements. And I want to ask you a question about I am statements in a second.
Oh,
okay.
The I am statements.
Oh, we love the I am statement.
Oh, yeah.
The power.
There, he can go bark out that way.
Right.
Nice.
Because as you were saying it, like you said, you primarily live in the introverted place. You didn't say I am introverted or I'm introverted, right? As humans, we're actually, all of us are both, because it's on a linear line.
Yeah.
And Kevin might spend 99% of his time extroverted, but he does spend 1% maybe in that, you know, introverted, where he just has to unplug, even if it's for 5 minutes.
True. Absolutely.
What have you found through working with couples? Because you've all been doing it for a while. When the things that people define themselves by, like I'm a doctor or I'm an introvert.
Well, I would think, you know, that's a good question.
Well, I'll speak to the men. Men, we wrap up a lot of our identity in what we do for a living. And, you know, like I'm a doctor. You know, I'm a professional athlete. You know, I'm an architect. You know, I'm a cop, you know, and all that. And those are all noble things. But we have a tendency to label ourselves by the outward things that we do, not so much the inward part that we are. You know, that's kind of the extrovert part of a man, where a woman a lot of times will say, well, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, you know,
I'm a daughter,
I'm a caregiver, the more emotional side of things.
Yeah.
So, but and sometimes, you know, we can get lost in our identity, and it can happen because you see this a lot of times. Like, for example, I've known many pilots in my life, and sometimes when a pilot, you know, they have a mandatory retirement age, and they feel great and they're doing awesome, but as soon as they get retired, put out retirement, it can really mess with them, you know. And I knew one pilot friend that really lost himself
Yeah.
after he had a forced retirement kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've seen that too. It's interesting. Corporately, you know, I'm business owner, entrepreneur at this point. I've retired my corporate life, but it starts there, right? Because they ask, so what do you do? As though what you do defines your value
Yeah.
rather than tell me about you,
Right.
right? Who are you as a human? And I know we're getting close on time. One, I want to make sure that you share with everybody how to connect with you all because couples, you know, the more the media gets sensationalized, the more couples need
Mm-hmm.
people like you two that want to serve, right? And kind of help bring together to a good spot. What thoughts are coming to mind in general? Because I guess this is one of the things Vic Keller he has this saying, and thank you, Vic, and sorry, Vic, if you didn't want me to share it. But to me, the what do you do question directly connects to rich, and I'm going somewhere with this, and the who are you connects to wealth. So Vic says wealth is quiet and rich is loud.
Mm.
Okay.
Right. And if you think
Yeah.
about even the real estate circles that we're collectively part of, it is not about being rich,
Mm-mm.
Right.
right? It's
Right.
about doing well so we can do good. And the more well we do, the more good we can do.
100%.
And I was on a trip recently with some of them, right? Pace was one of the people in it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about just their general portfolios and businesses. There was billions of assets in this one image. And everyone's wearing hoodies and ball caps.
Right.
Right. It wasn't about things. So as I kind of share that and you think about what you all do, what is it you want to make sure that you leave the people watching and listening
Mm.
with?
I would say just to remind people, especially couples, like happiness is a feeling, right? And then your legacy is your direction. And how well are you following the legacy?
Yeah.
In light to your comment, Tanya, really. And that's kind of at the heart of what we're doing. What would you share?
Well, at the core of it all, for Marcia and I've been saying this for a very long time. You know, we're all about people. Like I said earlier, I mean, nothing brings me more joy and satisfaction than pouring into someone's life and helping them, whatever that may be, with my time, with my talent, or my treasure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the core of it is people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And once they see that you care, then that's when you can have breakthrough, you can have rapport, you can have transparency,
Mhm.
and you can have true lasting relationships there. And if we would just be more interested in caring and getting what's going on, how are you doing in life, how's things going, tell me about your life, get involved in their life, ask them about their family, ask them if they're married, if they got kids, what are your kids, are they play sports. And when you do that and you show that kind of connection, it's amazing what can come out of that. And that's what we want to be known for, is keeping it, we like the KISS method, keep it simple. And keeping it simple is, some of this can be sound a little abstract and difficult, I mean complicated, but at the core of it, just be caring. Because you know, and people can tell if you're genuine or not.
Yeah.
Okay, they really can. It's like with kids. There's an old saying, you can con a con, you can fool a fool, but you can't kid a kid. You just can't do it. And with adults too, if you spend enough time with, you can tell if someone's really genuine or not with their words, and just look for them, those genuine relationships, and learn to say no to certain relationships that don't serve you. I mean, if we believe in pouring into people's life, but if they don't want our help and they push you away, then go, okay, maybe this isn't the season for them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And protect your space and just give them theirs and stuff like that, you know, and just be genuine and just lead with a open heart and a caring heart. And I mean, I don't know how more simple I could make that.
Yeah. And I would say, just to close, like a lot of times couples will share with us, like, you know, why did you create it? Why did you create this space? And I think for us, like we've always said, we want to hang around with couples. Pace will always say, share what you're doing, share the cool
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, okay, so that's really why we created this atmosphere, so that we could hang out with other couples who want to do amazing, incredible things. And even if you're not a couple that's doing amazing and incredible things, but you'd like to,
Yeah.
why not learn from other couples that are just a few steps ahead of you?
Right.
But our community does, the flip from stalled to unstoppable Facebook community.
And have that kind of personality, and just doing life with people of like-minded individuals.
Yes.
I remember many years ago, I was in a friend's office, and he had a plaque on the wall, and he said, "If attitudes were infectious, is yours worth catching?" And have an infectious kind of attitude to where are you the kind of person that people want to be around? Or are you the kind of person when people go, "Oh God, here he comes again," kind of thing? You know what I mean? And we've heard these sayings, be the atmosphere, not the thermostat. Go into a room, into a situation, and control the temperature of the room, control the temperature of the situation. And meaning bring them up to the level you're at. So if you're performing at a high level and you know who you are and you've been working on yourself, it's not ego, it's not pride, it's integrity. Lead with integrity.
Yeah.
And people, when they see that, people are drawn to that. They're drawn because it's a magnetism. It's that whole frequency that you're putting out and stuff like that. And just be the atmosphere wherever you go.
I think in what you all were saying too, and this is my perception of what you're teaching couples to do, and I'm gonna oversimplify it for just a second. Because when you use the word legacy, right? I mean, when you think about when people pass, what are people's biggest regrets? It's not that they should have worked more. It's usually how they're leaving those that they love, right? And that's legacy.
Right.
So it sounds like what you do is you teach them to take the end in mind and reverse engineer it.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you can set whatever the end is, because we are all going to these bodies pass, right?
Right.
And so that's inevitable. And knowing that it's going to occur, and we don't know when. We've all lost people, suddenly, unexpectedly. And we've all had people who've lived well into their 90s plus.
Right.
But it sounds like you teach them with the end in mind, reverse engineer, and point to the North Star.
Absolutely.
That way, when that time does come, the people that have been blessed to be in community with you don't have to have that regret, right?
Exactly.
There's a peace of mind when that time comes, then and you have to plan for that though. It doesn't just happen.
Yes, you have to be intentional about it, definitely. And that's
Intentional.
a perfect scenario, perfect share.
Yeah, be intentional with everything that you do. Like you say, live with the end in mind, because none of us are guaranteed tomorrow.
Yeah.
And one thing, we all have a date with destiny,
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So if you want, share with them verbally, clearly I'll put it as well with the post. How can people connect with you? Where should they go to connect with you?
Technically, they can go to meetup.com.
Okay.
And there's an event coming up on Thursday. It's called Build Your Relationship Like a Power Couple.
Okay.
And we're just stepping into, 2026 and loving on couples no matter where they're at.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just building legacies for those people, or at least giving them the idea of what that could look like.
Mhm.
Because that's where we started, and we'd love to have some people walk alongside us.
And what's your Facebook page? Because you mentioned a Facebook group for your community.
It's flipped from stalled to unstoppable.
Okay. Flip from stalled to unstoppable.
Real short name. You're welcome.
Yeah. Because we're fixing
That's
flipping.
great.
Right.
Yeah, we do fix and flips in the real estate world. So yeah, but I always got to throw that out there. We're always
But our primary public page is the Couples Revolution.
Yeah.
And that's where people tend to find us probably most frequently. It's just, our daily kind of rhythm that we're sharing with people.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to share, to pour into those that certainly needed to hear your voices.
Oh,
And hopefully I'll see you all soon too.
yeah. Thank you, Tanya. Really
Of course. Thank you.
That's awesome.